Hello, everybody. Welcome to Show to Be with Mike G, the show of a life, the show of Lee Marvin, Alabama, hurricanes, biology, and being a fucking gentleman. Today's guest is Steven Robbins of Small Victory, one of the finest bars in Austin, Texas. And Steven is one of the finest gentlemen you will ever meet. We learn a lot about Steven. We learn a lot about his life growing up in Alabama, working for Jimmy Buffett's family, learning biology, becoming interested in that. But the thing that we should all focus on here for a moment is that Steven is releasing a Dad Bod calendar, not just of Steven, mind you. Steven has managed to wrangle 12 of the best cocktail personalities in Austin to pose in what I would consider nothing less of haunting photos for a calendar to be released this Monday, February 1st, at the Hops and Grain Brewery. It's an amazing calendar. I can attest to this, having edited these haunting and chilling photos of men with dad bods who also make cocktails. There aren't a lot of shirts in this calendar, I must tell you. There are a lot of provocative positions, a lot of awkward backdrops, but nonetheless, you're going to be in for a treat with this calendar. I will post all of the details on how to purchase a calendar and the event details in the Show to Be website, but know that every bit of profit from the calendar goes to the Austin's Children Shelter. So it's for a good cause, no matter how much horror may come of it. But without further ado, let's give a listen to my interview with the wonderful Steven Robbins.
You know, I think, first of all, people don't pay much attention to that area in the South from a geographical standpoint and from a cultural standpoint. They have a lot of preconceived notions about what the South is,
Right.
without ever actually spending time there and seeing it for the diversity that it is.
Yeah.
You know, a good example for one, Mobile, where I'm from, birthplace of Mardi Gras. It's
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
So
it
they
was
know
the,
how to party in Mobile at the very least.
the bars don't shut down. They stay open.
Really?
Yeah, you can take to-go cups downtown Mobile. That all is left over from the French, and when they moved to New Orleans, that kind of
Really?
laissez-faire kind of attitude.
So it is far more progressive than one might think.
Let's see. Progressive as far as they like to drink and they don't like to be told they can't.
Yeah,
yes.
See, that's part of being progressive.
But that's about where that stops.
How's the infrastructure in Mobile?
It is. It's interesting. It's an interesting city. It's bigger than most people think. The industry right now is Airbus had a big impact on them recently. They opened
really?
a big
Positive?
place. Yeah, very positive. It's brought more jobs, more. How do I say? It's changed the dynamic. It's changed
The racial dynamic?
No, not necessarily. Maybe a little, but that's one beautiful thing about Mobile is the racial diversity.
Yeah.
And I'll go back to Mobile itself, but one thing I noticed when I moved here to Austin, and Austinites are very progressive, especially for this whole Red Sea around them, this nice little blue island. But they have this preconceived notion that the South is very racist, and that people from there have racist intents. And one thing I noticed when I moved here is that Austin is far more segregated than Mobile.
Geographically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have a lot more separation between people of different backgrounds, different races, different ethnicities, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas in Alabama, you grow up with people of all different races.
Sure.
You attend school, you attend every event, everything is more integrated.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes for a really interesting mix. For example, Mardi Gras. That comes from a mix of a lot of different beliefs, not just Catholicism. but it has influences from the Alabamian Indians, the Mobile Indians to be exact.
Oh, really?
With
Is
Joe
that was
Cane Day.
that what the tribe is called?
Yeah, the Mobile Indians is what Mobile was named after. It's
No
a
kidding.
French bastardization of the word, and the Alabamian Indians were a part of the Creek Confederation.
Okay.
And they
okay,
lived
yeah.
in that Mobile Tensaw Delta, which is a whole nother topic for another time.
Yeah.
E.O. Wilson, Dr. E.O. Wilson, one of my personal heroes, being a former biologist.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Harvard emeritus, and he's from that area. He did a lot of studies with ants and ecosystems.
Yeah.
But a very well-known name among science geeks. And he recently was part of a big documentary called America's Amazon, or U.S. Amazon, which features the Mobile Tensaw Delta. It's 5 rivers converge there, third largest delta in North America.
Yeah. Wow.
More fish, turtle species, more biodiversity than anywhere
Biodiversity. Okay. Yeah.
in the North America. So
That's insane. No one would ever realize.
oh,
that.
it's a huge place, and it's all government-owned land, and it's
Wait, it's government owned? Is it like
most
a
of the
park,
delta
or?
is, so it's done like forestry department owns a lot of
okay,
it, and
okay.
then other parts are set off as parks. There's a good example. We would always go kayaking out there, and sometimes go 3 days out and just camp.
No kidding.
There's little platforms, the John Muir Canoe and Kayak Trail. You can rent them, and so you camp on these things, and there's maybe a 12-foot alligator swim by you as the sun's going down. Really disconcerting.
It's in
the water.
You're
It's
in
in
it.
the
You're in
swamp.
the
Yeah.
element. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when you camp up on the land, that's a whole nother slew of issues.
A lot of
because
bears.
Bears, there's black bears, a lot of wild boars, what you really
Oh,
need to be
man.
careful about.
What's the deal with wild? I mean, I've ran into a couple.
For lack of
not-
a better term, they'll fuck you up.
The snarl, like just.
Yeah. Imagine Cerberus,
Okay.
guardian of the underworld, with huge.
And you sure that's
razor-sharp
not an
tusks.
exaggeration?
Yeah, no, maybe a bit.
It's like an uncle with like Edward Scissorhands wants
Sure.
to tickle you.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. So yeah, I mean, but it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful ecosystem. And
Yeah. Is it relatively untouched? You would say?
yeah, for the most part. I mean, there's a whole interesting history about it. From old growth oak trees being cut down because shipbuilders needed bowsprits, especially from the Spanish to the French.
Yeah.
And they would scout into the swamp to find these ancient oak trees for the big buttress systems on those and
Wow.
cypress, and they would scout them, mark them, come back, cut them down, just so they could get one solid piece for the bowsprit of these old
Right.
ships. Anyway, it's a very diverse place. Goes down to the beach. Been surfing down there since I was about 14.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How at
Beautiful
the-
beaches down there.
A lot
Gorgeous.
of people go out there because I've never really.
Call it the Redneck Riviera for a reason.
The Redneck Riviera.
Yeah.
Can you gamble out there?
And it is very redneck. You do in Mississippi. They
Yeah.
don't allow it in Alabama.
Mm.
Lord, no.
But you can drink.
You can drink. You
That's
can drink
the
to your heart's
best thing.
content. And there's a bar there. And I highly recommend you go to this event. It's called the Mullet Toss.
Okay.
It happens every year at the Floribama, which is a bar that is on the border of Alabama and Florida, right on the beach.
Okay.
It's about a 3-tiered bar with several stages. Generally, there's a wet T-shirt contest going on throughout the weekend.
Sure. When is there not?
Yeah, exactly. So the premise is, and my brother actually placed very high. I think he won it one year. You've got people.
He's a
and they're-
very busty man. No,
Oh, yeah.
you're kidding.
It's you've got people parked all up and down the beach expressway for this thing, and they come in from all over. A lot of bikers, and I mean, it gets real dynamic.
Dynamic.
there.
I like
Yeah.
that. That's a very pragmatic
Oh, yeah.
approach. To...
We would definitely sleep on the beach and party there all day. But what they do is they come out and they have a contest, see who can throw a dead fish the farthest.
Really? What kind of fish we talking now?
A mullet.
Oh, mullet. So.
Yep.
Because
How this thing began, I have no idea.
Because
but-
I was like when I was talking to Katie just previously, it's like we were talking about MacGyver. I'm like, God damn it, that's inhumane. They're tossing the guy with a mullet around, and then I realized, oh yeah, red mullet
Well,
is a fish.
It's also a move, you toss your mullet when you're feeling sexy, I guess. Kind of throw it over the shoulder.
Because imagine what that. I mean, that's an amazing grip.
Yeah.
A mullet, unlike any other haircut, provides a very strategic grip to
Yeah.
toss somebody.
Sure.
So, God forbid, but I was led astray for at least 10 minutes now, thinking that some poor sap
With a
his
mullet.
ass would just get tossed.
You
around
see
the
a lot
beach.
of them, but I think we have a new mullet now. Josh and I were discussing this the other night. We call it the millennial mullet. That's the man bun.
Oh God!
And that's the new.
What do you?
That's the new one.
Do you think that men and masculinity just wants to expire and not be relevant anymore? Because it's certainly making a case for itself that men aren't needed in any masculine capacity.
I come across this a lot, especially being in the service industry now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people always have something to bring to the table.
Sure.
I don't think that I think there's an idea of masculinity, and I think that we as men need to hold on to it. I agree wholeheartedly with the self-reliance, Jack London-esque kind of view of masculinity. Yeah. That's how I was raised.
How about Lee Marvin? That to me, that is that's a great example.
Yeah, that's up there.
Charles Bronson, like these guys, you know.
John Wayne.
Well, he's kind of a dick, but there are certain aspects of his stoicism that could be appreciated as masculinity.
Well, a quiet strength, I think, is something that men are lacking a lot these days. You know, and doing the right thing. Like I was always raised to open the door for women.
Absolutely.
Not as a sexist kind of view.
No, that's manners. That's how it works. Mm-hmm. That's the dynamic. And it's not that anybody needs you to do it. Mm-hmm. You just do it. I open the car door all the time. You pick up bags, right?
Sure.
Like baggage from the airport. I mean, that's a big thing.
When I go grocery shopping, my dad taught me to park far away from the store to leave spaces for women and elderly people, pregnant women, so that they can get in.
Not because you have a new Mercedes that you don't want to get dinged up, because I've seen that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've tried to adopt a new philosophy on life, and I don't really have a name for it, but
okay.
My idea is to let other people go before me. When I'm driving in traffic,
like that, you want them all to die before.
Yeah, that's one way. But instead of getting locked into the tumultuous aspect of, say, traffic and what we have here in Austin. Everyone's scrambling and fighting to get ahead of the next person.
Right.
And cars are a perfect example. There's empathy seems to just kind of drop off at some point.
Do people know what it means? I don't really think they do.
I think they've lost it. People don't rely on one another anymore, and they deal with one another through social media and
in the most passive, impersonal way possible.
Yeah, without FaceTime. You know, there's something to be said about looking someone in the eye, shaking their hand when you do business with them.
Absolutely.
Or when you interact
feeling
with them.
because handshake is symbolic to someone's kind of personality and how they do business in some cases.
And being accountable for your actions.
Yeah.
What I try to do now is...
The new philosophy.
is I try to leave the house about 15 minutes early to give myself a little extra time to get somewhere.
Good idea.
When people are trying to cut me off in traffic, and Anya will attest to a very different thing because she hears the horrible things that I say in traffic, and it gets dark quick. It goes bad.
This goddamn son of a bitch! Why did his mother ever have him?
My kid was in the back seat one day, and he's 15 now. But he and I have a very similar sense of humor. And he cracks up. I didn't realize he was videotaping me on a rant, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Dad, this is golden. This has got to go on my Instagram."
What are you gonna do with it? This is terrible. Imagine it's profane to some degree, right?
So I'm trying to adopt the philosophy of a quiet calm and just let them be. Let them do their shit. Let them do them.
Right. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Because you've got your own path, your own voyage. And I think that's a very Zen-like approach to things. Let people be as they're going to be. Because obviously they're going to be selfish. Obviously they're going to be arrogant. And that's okay.
Yeah.
They'll eventually get there. It's not my place to tell them they're being a dipshit. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I feel like it. I really do. My finger's on the trigger.
Sure.
The easy trigger of the post button. Mm-hmm. But what good does that really do?
Well, I can think back to my teenage years. I was a very angry teenager. I was in trouble a lot.
In Alabama? You grew up in Angry.
Angry, yeah. Why? I had a lot of it would be more than teenage angst. I was just always in trouble in some form. Not necessarily offensive towards other people, but, selling acid when I was 15,
It's not just so bad.
No, but just always into something. Always into...
You ever punch a cop?
No, not yet.
Good.
Not that I'm aware of.
See, that's going too far.
That's going a little far. Yeah. But one thing that helped keep me kind of reined in back then was Japanese martial arts.
Really?
Shorinji Kenpo and Aikido.
Kenpo is really wonderful.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And Aikido as well. And I had a wonderful instructor then and always kind of stuck with it. Years down the road, got back into it with Shaolin Kung Fu and Shideru, my Shifu, back then. And at that point, maybe around 04, 05.
Yeah.
I was competitive. I was in competitive sand show.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I was in college, I would get done with class and go to the gym. Go to the school.
What draws you to the martial arts?
Personal challenge.
Yeah. Does it keep
I've
you
liked.
does it keep you harmonious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people, ever since UFC and these horrible kind of things
Right.
came into being, where it's just like a bunch of idiots jump in a ring and drink a bunch of creatine and beat up on one another. And
you got to drink a lot of water with that creatine, Steven.
The actual idea of what martial arts are went out the window long ago with this, and people started to view it as like a meathead thing. But
sure, affliction.
Yeah,
that's a metaphor.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah,
I remember when all that was kind of getting big, and
you feel like it in
steering
a sense,
away from that. Well, I mean, it's a true martial artist or someone in it. Your number one enemy is yourself. You're trying to constantly better yourself, and you treat it as that is your opponent. Martial arts is a way to be peaceful.
Could you say ego is
absolutely
your enemy?
Ego is everything. My shifu once told us, he said that 99% of the time a man gets into physical altercations is because you're afraid.
Yeah.
So what do you mean? We're not afraid of. We know how to handle ourselves. Why would we be afraid? He said, you're not afraid of the other person. You're afraid of yourself. That's why the insecurities strike you so hard that you go to the last resort, which should always be in physical violence.
Wow.
And there's always a way to get out of an altercation. Just
sure.
be nice. Buy somebody a beer. My God.
And it speaks volumes. A lot of people that totally get de-escalated right there, right?
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
buy them a beer, buy them a shot.
Yeah, that's the easiest way. So I've always been able to kind of steer clear of that. So yeah, I think that helped me a lot when I was young, and then having a kid when I was 18, that changed my whole outlook on life.
Were you still in high school when?
Yeah, I found out graduation night from high school.
No kidding.
Yeah, I lifeguarded with his mother the summer before. We were lifeguards.
Well, I've seen lots of movies, Steven, in the 80s.
Yeah. So
the lifeguards get
it turned into a summer fling, turned into us kind of dating.
Yeah.
We went back to school, and
so you knew.
We were
so
just
you knew
two
her?
kids. Yeah, we knew each other. Well, we were just two kids. It wasn't meant to be serious. I was going to head off to college one way. She was going to go the other. Graduation night, she popped the news. I said, okay, well, we're in Alabama. We better get married. So we tried that.
So you actually did get married?
We did get married.
How long did that last?
Not long. Not long
Under a
at
year?
all. Yeah, I'd say about a year,
you
2
beat
years,
me.
something like that.
I got 9 months.
Yeah.
So I understand the
went
feeling.
down that road?
It certainly did. Went downhill real quick.
Yeah.
Luckily, no kids involved. But
Mm-hmm.
Is it something you ever saw that was what your fate was going to be? That at 18 you're going to have a son?
No, of course not. No, I was so far removed from that idea. But that changed instantaneously.
Yeah.
When you see that little person, all that thought of self goes out the window.
Instantly, right?
And you're like, whoa, I'm not me anymore. I'm this person's parent.
Right.
I'm responsible for this little
one day you're
thing.
not a father, the next day you are, and
Yeah.
you're never, ever again not
Sure.
a father, right?
And so it changes the dynamic.
Did you feel like it made you want to be more secure, more stable, and all that?
Absolutely. Calmed me down a lot.
Yeah.
Made me question things a lot more.
What kind of like?
Life.
Yeah.
My priorities.
Sure.
What mattered to me. Spent some time, in high school. Hate to say it helped me, but being on house arrest for one summer.
What was that about? Just parents, or you actually did?
No. I was with the state of Alabama. I was put under house arrest and probation. I got caught with dope. Got caught with some weed. Got caught with some stuff.
It's bollocks too, right? If you think about it, I got caught for
underage drinking, other things like that.
That's harmless stuff, man.
Harmless stuff. Yeah.
But you're saying that house arrest helped.
Yeah. So got in a lot of Discovery Channel and a lot of reading.
Yeah. But
I remember sitting in a cell and reading Mark Aurelius's Meditations when I was about 16.
No kidding.
And that helped me to start to view life. Like, my father was very religious growing up. My mother and father were dichotomous individuals, if that makes sense. They were They could not exist in the same space and time. They were.
When did they get divorced?
I guess I was about 10, maybe something like that. But it was a very tumultuous divorce, and that's a long story.
Sure.
I'll say this: their divorce is a case study at Alabama Law School.
No shit.
Yeah, no shit. It was
because of the split of
millions of dollars lost.
Wow.
Just into the ether. It was my dad was a land developer.
Oh, so money. It had some money.
Yeah, and self-taught. I mean, grew up in a family of 9 kids, Scots-Irish family from Mississippi. never went to college, anything like that. Just
Made something
had a
of
knack for
himself,
business. Yeah, he was catching cattle before he started developing land.
No kidding.
My
Did you
mother,
say-
Greek, grew up in a restaurant. Yeah,
worked in hospitality. So you've got kind of this.
I was born into it.
You
No
got-
getting away.
but that is an interesting blend, though, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's just all hospitality. Like just
Yeah.
serve it, not in a bad way.
Sure,
It's servitude, But to have a very shrewd mind and someone that is academic and wants to keep learning while at the same time being part of the hospitality, that's an interesting skill set and something that probably makes you pretty successful.
Sure, in some ways.
Yeah. Did you say you have any siblings or no?
I do. Yeah, I have a full sister, my younger sister. She
Mhm.
Trains quarter horses. She lives up in Weatherford.
Oh, cool.
Writes for American Quarter Horse Journal.
No kidding.
Yeah, we grew up horse people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big property and stuff when you grew up?
The house I grew up on as a child, we had about 40 acres, but
Wow.
we were, my dad's always had different farms and
Yeah.
different
Well,
dealings.
it's probably going to have land, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like right now, he's got about 80 acres out in Blackwater National Forest in Florida,
Wow.
and he's got huge barns and paddocks and pastures and
Yeah.
horses, and they
Lush
host like
pasture, just wonderful land. You were telling me about it. The
Yeah,
other
it's
day.
cool.
It makes me want to go out there actually, even though it's in Florida.
it's a really peaceful spot. We were there for the holidays, and
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun seeing my dad's side of the family. My sister's out there real happy to have her new AR-15 and shooting it. It's hilarious, and then watching Anya, just kind of incorporate into it is and my family absolutely loves. They adore Anya.
Yeah.
But it's funny watching her, especially when she was meeting
Mm-hmm.
that side of the family.
It's
It's
interesting.
a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because well, no, we'll get into that bit in a
Sure.
second. But so, house arrest, you feel it's very formative. This was when you were 16, you said,
Yeah.
and then you find out your father. How did I imagine that you wanted to go to college?
I did.
Yeah,
I have a
and you
degree.
still
Yeah,
did,
I
right?
got my
Yeah.
degree in biology,
Oh, no kidding.
focused in limnology,
Where
freshwater
from?
ecology, University of South Alabama.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's where
What
Anya.
drew you to that? The biology.
The biology.
Yeah.
When I had my kid, I kind of knew I needed to do some things,
Yeah.
and I didn't really know what to do with life because, of course, I was 18.
Yeah. And what those things are. Right?
What those things are. I've always loved nature. I grew up around it,
Yeah.
and was a part of it. And biology to me has always been very interesting. I spend a lot of time, or I try to, in the practice of Shinrin Yoku. which
Okay.
is a
Tell
Japanese,
me what that is. I'm not.
it's a
familiar.
Japanese principle based on old Shinto animistic beliefs, but also it started around the 80s. It was a movement, and it roughly translates to forest bathing or forest healing.
Okay.
And now there's science to actually back it up. They show that, for example, smelling pine resin, rubbing some pine needles together, and smelling it actually lowers your heart rate
No
instantaneously.
kidding. Well, I love this. I mean, it's an amazing immersive smell.
Yeah,
Being in
absolutely.
this forest like that.
And so putting yourself in the forest alone with your thoughts gives you a moment to kind of break things apart and start to see the universe and life around you occurring.
Mm.
And I was always drawn to microcosms, a vernal puddle,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
all the intricacies of that. And then learning about the anatomy of, say, a dragonfly and the
Yeah.
abductor muscles and the things that operate this system and how it interacts into this ecosystem and how it's such a part of this. And all these thoughts start flying around when you're in the forest. You just instantaneously forget about the small, inconsequential things that piss you off on a day-to-day
For
basis.
sure.
So it started with the Japanese as a way to lower their stress levels. And, the Japanese businessmen,
Yeah.
notorious for working crazy hours.
Absolutely. And I want to share when I was in Japan recently,
Mhm.
we walked through the forest. It's one of the main parks there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so soothing.
Mhm.
Now, nature is soothing. We get that, right? And if you're saying it's scientifically proven to be, absolutely agree.
Mm-hmm.
But there was something specific about the smell of
Mhm.
this particular forest and just walking through this kind of gravel road. And it is something that we lose track of all the time. Being in Austin proper, if you will, being in just metropolitan areas, we don't ever get that chance to go back and just immerse ourselves. No, it's not like we got to go hiking, but just
Mhm.
being there, smelling it, and kind of being among the nature,
Absolutely. Green space has. I read a book recently. It's called Happy City,
Mhm.
and it's about sustainable development and city planning.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those kind of things incorporated into it.
Yeah. But so you did this, and you found particular interest in the heal therapeutic.
Well,
properties.
when I started college, it was I went the path of a business degree. That's what I need to do, get a business degree.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
how long did it take before you're like, not so many?
well, I guess we could skip kind of 99 through about 2003. Let's just go ahead and kind of skip through that to about 2002. I was just doing whatever.
Was it a good social life though in college?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't in college proper at that time. I was trying to pay for college, we'll say. And then getting back into touch with life and going to college full time after getting my electives done, I kind of started back into the restaurant business.
What capacity? Serving or?
So I got a job at a restaurant that was owned by Jimmy Buffett's sister, because he's from my hometown of Fairhope, Alabama. Unfortunately,
the plot thickens.
It is the Mordor of shitty yacht rock, and I mean it is the epic Heart of Darkness of Jimmy Buffett land. Man, it was rough. But
he could never sing. Let me just put that out there.
Yeah.
Jimmy Buffett couldn't sing worth shit.
No.
Ever.
My mom remembers him when he was playing at the Holiday Inn pool.
That is where he should have stayed.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Full-heartedly agree with you, man. But
you guys can get some all-you-can-eat shrimp at the bar.
Yeah,
that's about it.
So I got I don't know. I kind of had known at that point that I wanted to shift to biology, which I did. And while I was going to school, I got a job working at Lulu's, which was Jimmy Buffett's sister's place. It was a river shack next door to a bait shop.
Okay.
The restaurant and bait shop were joined.
Okay.
We
Did
had
the
this
smells
bar.
ever waft over?
Oh yeah,
for the bait shop?
I'd say half our clientele showed up in boats. On the weekends, maybe 70%. We had some gas tanks out on the pier and
That's amazing.
draft beer. So people gas up their boats, go fishing out in Weeks Bay, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they'd come back, hit us up for happy hour, and it would turn into a party. It was all outdoors in this octagonal little tiki bar with horrendous sugary concoctions.
But
I think
still
we had like
trying
6.
though, right? Trying tiki drinks, or was it more like
No, it was.
mudslides
We had about 6 margaritas
Uh-huh.
and a few bastardizations of a hurricane, bushwhackers, things like that. Big Island Oasis machine that would inevitably break down when you're in the middle of a rush.
Of course.
But that was when I got back into the industry. You know, I grew up in the restaurant business. My grandfather owned a restaurant called the Nautilus, and he's in some books back in Mobile about his empire of restaurants.
No kidding.
Yeah,
What cuisine was it?
Uh,
Southern cuisine?
It was a Greek restaurant, so it was
Oh,
whatever
nice.
was around. Yes, he did a lot of seafood, like bay seafood.
Yeah.
People still try to emulate his snapper almondine recipe and some of those things. Never a classically trained cook. He came into Coney Island 17 years old. His family left him in Patmos when he was young.
No kidding.
He came over here with nothing and started off as a busboy, ended up with a hot dog cart. I mean, a classic immigrant story. It's insane.
Yeah. Wow.
It would take hours to just go through his whole story.
It's incredible, though.
But when he sold that restaurant, my mom ended up opening a restaurant. Worked there when I was a kid, and then always worked in the restaurant industry through high school, with the exception of like lifeguarding or doing construction.
Right. So you had a good. You had lots of roles. You were able to see all sides of the business, I imagine.
Everything. Yeah, I've done everything in a restaurant. I've been a general manager. I've been a busboy. I've been a dishwasher.
Wow.
Waiter. Bartender.
So prime for the
Cooked on
picking.
the line. Oh yeah.
At some point,
there was no hope.
Yeah.
There was no hope.
You would
me.
not escape the grips of genetics.
Once it gets in your blood, you just don't get out of it. So I worked at Lulu's, and that's when I kind of got back into bartending and saw it for what it was. And at that time, I was of the mind, as many people in the service industry are, when they have the illusion that they're going to get out quickly. Was of the mind that, okay, I'm going to work my way through college doing this, yada, 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 get out. But I think that was some of my most invaluable training that translates to cocktail bartending, to what I do now.
Yeah.
Was at that shitty little river shack. It was a very egalitarian bar.
Uh-huh. Well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, when you stepped up to the bar, you had some river rat hippie sitting next to a doctor, next to a boat mechanic, next to a writer artist.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And they would all sit there and bullshit. And
they
loved
would
listening to
coexist,
it.
no problem, right?
Oh, yeah. The only thing that mattered at that bar was if you could hold your liquor and know how to bullshit.
Yeah.
And if you could stand with the best of them.
That's amazing.
And they would do it, and I would listen to the subject matter. It would go from sports to music to existentialism. I mean, it would get fucking weird.
Did you like it? Did you learn
I
anything?
loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I remember starting to see what I thought was the death of it years down the road when I got back into bartending when the smartphones started popping up.
Oh, because
I even had a rule at a bar that I ran one time. I said, no smartphones allowed at the bar. You win your argument through wit and charm. We don't care about fucking facts here. I want to hear why this.
It's a persuasive argument done right the political way.
Absolutely.
Without any kind of hard facts.
It's fucking entertaining, yeah.
That's amazing. That's a brilliant rule, brilliant standard to hold people to.
I think so.
But so at some point, you're doing the biology degree as well. So you're
doing that.
Two different lanes, two different paces.
Doing that.
Were you pretty good? I imagine you're a pretty good student.
Yeah, I did all right. I mean, I had to.
Yeah.
You know, I had a goal ahead, but
yeah.
It was strange the way it worked out because I lived on the other side of Mobile Bay, and South Alabama campus is in Mobile. So at some point, I got my schedule set up to where I would work like Thursday night, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Have the day off Sunday, go back to class Monday through Wednesday. I was pretty lucky like that sophomore,
That's
junior
good.
year.
That's really good.
So I could go surf in the morning on the weekends, work a bar shift, make, kick-ass money for a kid that age.
Sure.
And then go do school and have my kid on the weekends. Or,
That's great.
my mom would watch him until I'd get off work. And
yeah.
It worked really well. It was really cool. But I think what drew me in was the people I worked with at that place.
Mm-hmm.
The servers were all older women, had kids. They all went to Little League together. Their husbands are all blue-collar guys, great guys to drink beer with.
Yeah.
We had this guy, Big Daddy. He was a literature teacher in high school, but he also moonlighted as a bartender. He opened his own restaurant down the road. He's actually very successful now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then this dude named Jeremy, who was an older bartender, a dude, and he fucking hated me because I was just this cocky young, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And,
young, dumb, and
but he loved me too. He just give me shit all the time. But I worked there, and then Lucy ended up becoming business savvy, using the Jimmy Buffett name, and opened Lulu's at Homeport, which is a landmark in Gulf Shores, Alabama now.
Okay.
So we went from a little river shack that was run by, oh God, I didn't even bring up our general manager, this dude, Danny. Danny was the kind of dude, literally, one day he walked in, we were sitting at my friend Lou's table. We had a bunch of mushrooms we had just picked, and they're drying out. We're saving them for an opportune time. It was about 2 p.m.
Oh, no.
Danny walks in with his classic Tervis tumbler full of gin and tonic, sees the mushrooms, doesn't even ask, just grabs a handful, says, "So we doing this?"
Oh,
this guy was like 60.
Oh, that's amazing.
Hell, he was fucking nuts, man. He interviewed my buddy for the head chef position. When I say head chef.
And he's got air quote. Yeah, air quotes.
Yeah. My buddy Eddie comes in. He sits at the table. Danny shows up about 20 minutes late. Walks in, looks at Eddie, throws a wrap of Coke on the table, and goes into the office, says, "Cut you one out and get me one too. I'll be back in, we'll talk."
See, this is all in Kitchen Confidential, right?
Oh, man, it was fucking beautiful. The place was nuts. It was horrible. It was dysfunctional. But we had this motley crew and this merry band of misfits, and that's what draws me to the restaurant business to this day. I love the camaraderie. I love the people and how diverse and strange and just beautiful they are, and the way it develops organically into a family. It's not something that can be forced.
Well, it's strange because it is a just random set of particles that somehow work in unison at some point.
Somehow.
There's some energy.
There's some dark matter. Our dark energy we don't understand.
It's the shit they're doing at the collider. That's the only thing that can explain how you can coalesce these different personalities into something that is cohesive and creative. And a unique vision, right?
Yep.
Like, it's insane. But so you're saying that you met Anya at school then?
Yeah, it was years down the road. So yeah, Lulu's turned into this big corporate thing.
And so you moved over when they?
No, actually, at that point, that was 2003, I guess. I actually did that for a while, and then I got out of bartending, and I went and started doing some construction work and contracting, and I actually started my own contracting business at some point. Yeah. So I worked my way through the rest of school, busting my ass. I'm talking like
you're physically busting your ass.
Well, Hurricane Ivan hit and put work there for everyone.
Because it's all government contracts, right, to rebuild, or is it
that and
contracts?
Everything? Just everybody needed work, or everybody had work to do. So I and my friend Adam, my buddy, best friend, roommate, started a little contracting business. We needed some help, so we went and worked for this 80-year-old man. He was kind of the handyman in Fairhope. Everybody knew him, and he taught us everything he could about carpentry. We built piers, we did houses, we did everything, and then finally struck out on my own, hired a crew of guys, took jobs I had no business taking, but stayed on until it was finished.
Or just too advanced, or what would you say?
Too advanced, but I figured it out. Probably lost money on the first couple. But
right. But then once you figure it out, it's golden, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It just takes hard work and doing what
Sure.
you say you're going to do. And
That's all problem solving. You
Absolutely.
know, because it like physical problem
and
solving
hiring good people that know what to do.
that when you don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and so did that for a while. I was dating this girl. We lived together. That kind of went south, and at that point, my kid had moved to Florida with his mother. I had to sign this agreement for them to do it. She was going to get married, and
Because it seemed like you guys had pretty good joint custody at that
yeah,
point.
yeah,
right?
everything was great. You know, we worked it out really well. But she had this guy she was going to marry, and you know, it was at that point I said, well, I have to sign this. Otherwise, both of us have to stay here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to follow this idea of traditional, how we're going to raise our kid, because it's not for us.
It's for him.
Let's
yeah.
do for him.
Right.
And so they moved and went through that breakup and everything. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Graduated college.
How old were you then? 23, 20?
That was like 2007.
Okay.
So I guess I was 26.
Okay.
Something like that, maybe
Yeah.
27. Yeah.
You're 34 now?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
So I sold what was left of the business. Had a couple of like investment properties because I'd gotten into some real estate stuff at the time.
There's genetics again.
Yeah. And then I moved downtown Mobile. Got a little apartment. You know, got my rental properties going and everything. Had a little money to pad me. So I got a little apartment downtown and said, man, I'm going to go back and bartend again.
Yeah. Was that the bachelor lifestyle? Because that's that's got to be quintessential.
It was the first time in my life that I really, like, I had a little stint of it before the ex.
Yeah.
But it was the first time I really got to kind of let loose because I had a sweet ass apartment.
Yeah.
Very nice, right downtown, walking distance to the bars. Really cool
man.
bar that I stocked right off the bat. Like, it was pretty cool. It was
Not
fun. So partied a little bit for a while. Yeah.
I can see the way that we're drifting away from this.
Had some fun. Yeah, for sure. But, you know, kind of got back into it, and the idea that was like, man, I just want to be happy. I want my quality of life to be good.
Yeah.
I like being in the restaurant industry. I miss bartending. I really enjoyed it. I want to do what makes me happy. I want to have time to go surfing when the waves are up and not have
the balance between nature and metropolitan, it seems
Absolutely,
like, right?
yeah. So started working at this brew pub. Eventually got to where I was brewing the beer with the owner.
Oh, cool.
And then running the bar at night.
Yeah.
And that's when I really dove headfirst back into the bar business, and that's when I met Anya.
Were you working at the brew pub when you met her? Or
I was, yeah. It was funny because right across the street was this punk rock pizza joint called the Picklefish, and this place was fucking dirty. It was
the pizza good?
Oh yeah, pizza was great. It was. You didn't want to watch it get made,
but you wanted to eat it.
But you wanted to eat it.
Yeah.
There was this dude named Fonzie that cooked the pizza, and you'd see him in the daytime, and he looked like one of the Dead Boys.
Oh really?
Yeah, but not glammed up,
just pale.
He looked like one of
tattered.
their roadies. Yeah, something just bad stuff.
Gritty. Yeah.
They had an upstairs bar. I walked in there one time. They literally had hardcore midget porn playing.
No way.
In the bar. Yeah,
I've never seen that in a bar.
You wouldn't want to.
No, I'm not regretful. I just never seen it.
That's just an idea of how poorly run and how this place was going. But there was this girl there, and I remember I was on a date the first time I saw her with another girl, and it was Anya, and she was walking around serving tables, and I just couldn't take my eye off of her. And this girl that was with me was kind of like,
"What's your problem,
hey,
man?
dude,
I'm right here."
Man? Yeah, and I have more manners than that, but at this point, this was something.
It was
something
bigger,
hit me in the pit of my stomach. Yeah,
right.
And I kind of like played it off like, okay, you know, whatever. I'm single. I'm not looking for that. Whatever. Well, it turns out this place was right across the street, and it was separated by plate glass windows, essentially. So you could see inside each place. I'd be behind the bar. I could see the Picklefish and what's going on. And I'd see Anya over there, and I'd kind of talk to her once or twice, wave at her. My buddy's like, man, why do you keep looking at that girl? She ain't going to date you. She's stuck up. She won't date anybody down here.
Is she stuck up?
Awesome. Yes, great.
You say this is a challenge.
No, I'm thinking, thank God there's a girl that works down here that, you know, nothing wrong with it, but that everybody, you know, it was,
I think I know what you're saying.
It was a lifestyle.
Yeah,
everybody
for sure.
partied together down there after
and
work.
she was onto her own.
And she was onto her own. She didn't really party. She'd go out or whatever, but she was in grad school. I didn't even know she was Russian yet until I finally went and talked to her.
You couldn't tell by, I can't tell by looking at her.
No. I can now.
Yeah.
Being immersed and married to a Russian and knowing things like I can spot one in a public place. It's
And
weird.
it's not even
Anya
racist.
used to
You
tell me
just
about it.
can't.
I'm like, that's what? What do you mean? She's like, no, I know. And she could see people like 100 yards away and be like, there's a Russian. I'm like,
Wow.
what? How? And not like tracksuit wearing, our idea of it. Just like a normal person standing there like,
How do you know this?
But yeah,
So when was the first time did you ask her on a date, or did you
yeah, it was, oh man, I was so cool. It was bad. It was real bad.
You mean you were
I had the illusion that I
befuddled.
thought I was cool. I was
Yeah.
not cool. And I went over there and saw her. She was like studying or something before a shift.
Yeah.
I rode my bike downtown. I'm trying to act very cool and
Suave.
yeah, Laissez faire, whatever. And I kind of walk in. I'm like, hey, so what's up? But I walked in. I start talking to her. We had kind of talked at one night, having beers or something briefly. So I didn't just brashly charge in there.
Sure,
but
you
I,
built some rapport.
some rapport.
Yeah.
But I walked in. I said, hey, there's this band I really like playing at this place called the Blind Mule tonight.
What band was it?
Bot Gwai.
I think you've told me about it, but I don't know.
They I think they're based out of Huntsville or somewhere in Alabama, Birmingham maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Great band. But went to see them play, and she was like, sure, I'll go with you, whatever. And she came. She brought a friend.
Yeah. A guy or girl?
A guy, this dude named Greg.
Oh, no.
Notorious cross-dresser. Greg was a trip.
Maybe that makes it easier.
No,
where you stand.
he was such a funny these were the kind of characters you meet downtown Mobile, and Greg was awesome. He was a fun guy. I knew him from the bars. He'd be out. He was a huge like Bauhaus fan, true goth,
Sure.
like old school.
Joy
But he
Division,
also sometimes he'd show up at the bar dressed as Natasha, and that was his alter ego.
Nice.
And so Greg comes out with her, and we're all hanging out. And we had a good time at the show, and I was like, hey, I'm going surfing in the morning. You want to come with me? She's like, yeah, sure, I'll try that.
She'll try that. She'd never been surfing?
Never been before. And so I picked her up in the morning, and we went to the beach together, and we've been together pretty much since that.
That's incredible. What was the moment that you kind of knew that?
I thought she hated me for the first 4 dates. Yeah, because I was used to
still think she
Southern
hates
girls.
me,
Yeah.
actually.
Well, that's the Russian thing, man. It's they're like a lot like Greeks are similar to that too. They're very standoffish until they get to know you, but once they get to know you, you find they've got a heart of gold, and their loyalty is untouchable, and they're amazing.
But you remember
people.
that turning point where you're like, okay, I think I'm in good graces?
Yeah, I do. I think first couple of dates, like I said, I'm giving it my best, trying to, and I'm used to dating Southern girls who will just laugh out of being polite.
Oh, that's so great,
God,
Steven.
Silly. She's just kind of deadpan staring at me, and I'm like, man, I'm giving it my best, and that wasn't even funny. Like,
You're
what do you
just
mean?
starting to sweat
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the brow. Like,
What
I
am
don't
I
know what
doing?
material I could.
Yeah. So at some point we became romantic, started dating, and I think it was Voodoo Fest. We went to New Orleans for Voodoo Fest.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a turning point. And we just kind of clicked. And
What
one
year
night
was this? 2008, 2009, or?
it was like 07,
Okay,
08,
okay.
somewhere in there, yeah. Somewhere in that year. And we were hanging out one night and drinking pretty heavily, and she had a trip planned to go to Seattle. She was like, I'm going to Seattle, at this time. Would you like to come along? I was like, yeah, love that. I'd love to go to Seattle. Sure, why not? So I booked a flight, and we went, a week later. And I think we were in Seattle when I asked her to marry me. Or
wow.
kind of the way we talked about it, it was like, she was talking about moving back to Russia, and very fondly, and ready to get back over there and finish grad school. And
Right.
I came along and fucked that up for her. But yeah.
Love will do that.
Yeah.
It'll fuck shit up.
So I kind of like, we talked about it, and it was like in a very pragmatic way, like, look, let's give this a try.
Yeah.
So we went to the courthouse, got married. My parents didn't know for the first 3 months.
No kidding.
Because we got married the 21st of December. I brought her home for Christmas. First time meeting them, I didn't want to be like, hey, this is my new wife, by the way.
Like, where'd you order a Steven? Right?
yeah, all of that shit, yeah. And so they kind of met, and my mom, I remember we were down at the condo at the beach, and my mom met Anya the first time, and she's like, so you're dating my son? And she gave her the whole overbearing Greek mother rundown. Took her out on the balcony, wanted to talk to her, try to scare her, intimidate her. My mom is very a personality kind of
exacting Greek
Yes,
mother. Yeah,
very much. And Anya just gave it right back.
I can't. I imagine.
My mom was like,
This is the
I
one.
like her.
Yeah. No one does that shit to me.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So yeah, we we've been together ever since.
Did you guys ever work at a bar together?
No, I'm terrified to do that. She's so much better than me. It's scary.
Don't let her know that.
No, that's the only secret. That's the only card I got in my sleeve, man. This illusion.
Well, then what was it that drove you to leave Alabama?
Let's see. Well, I was working at that brew pub. That place ended up moving on from there. She had moved on from Picklefish, taking a job at a place called the Bicycle Shop, which is an awesome bar. It's still down there. And I took over as a GM at this restaurant that was opening, which was insanely stressful, but took that over, had free reign over things like the bar. That's when the craft thing really kicked in.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding is like 2008, 2009 is when things are just really starting to form.
I remember digging through some old cocktail books. I knew how to bartend.
Yeah.
I learned all that. And that's, not to get too far off subject, but that's something I see these days that people are skipping that step.
Sure.
And they go right into craft cocktail, but they don't realize what it's like to be in oh shit mode
transaction
for 6 hours straight and making things work and having to think for themselves.
Sure.
It's a cocktails and what's that?
So like I always think about music as a can or as a kind of a metaphor for, and until you assemble and disassemble a drum set 7 days in a row, you don't know shit about gear. Because it sucks, really dude. And same thing with like setting up 2 amps or like a bass DI, and then like until you get on the stage and you start setting all this stuff up, you can't start really going into the studio to record. You have to understand like molecularly how that stuff plugs into each other, and you got to do it and lift it and sweat and hurt your knees, carry it up a flight of stairs, like all that stuff, right? Yep. So I always think of that, and I don't have that in the craft cocktail world, but I certainly have that in the music world, and that's the thing. Like if you don't do it, you're kind of cheapening it.
I think that's an excellent comparison, yeah.
You should do it.
Yeah,
you should. You break your back for a little bit.
Yeah, earn it.
Yeah, for sure. Paying your dues, and that's how other industries work. I mean, it's how the music industry works.
That's how cocktails used to be. That's how bartending used to be.
Yeah.
Something shifted. The paradigm shifted.
Well, I think
it's still there. I think the guest will notice.
Sure.
And I think playing the long game for good, experienced bartenders is the way to go.
Yeah, you can't
not worry about it.
There's no difference. You can, or rather, there is no alternative. You can tell a guy that or woman, whoever, that has been in it, in the shit, knows how to be smooth under pressure, and also knows how to be dynamic with different kinds of people, different kinds of service and stuff. And you can tell that.
Absolutely.
And you can tell the rookies, man.
Yeah.
The guys that are just like, well, I'm creative. Yeah, we're all fucking creative. I can tweet palindromes all I want, right? Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But it's a matter of that experience is what really gives you that wisdom, and wisdom is the thing that's missing.
I think so. Wisdom and I'll say that and true empathy for your guests and why we're doing this.
Yeah.
The idea of ego got introduced at some point.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And bartending's always been what drew me to it. It's a blue collar job.
Yeah.
With a blue collar sensibility. You get in there, you work hard, you don't post how hard you work or how many tickets you knocked out that night on fucking social media.
Right.
You hold that inside as an internal badge with the comrades you worked with and the people that shared it in the trenches.
Absolutely.
And you clink beers at the end of the night and you go on, you do it the next day.
Yeah.
And you don't expect recognition for it because it's what we do.
Yeah, it's not about recognition.
No.
You do it because you have to do it.
Yeah. And we want to do it. I used to always train new bartenders, barbacks, people like that with one saying. I would say there's 2 types of people. There's people that like going to parties and there's people that like to host a party.
Yeah.
You're the guy hosting the party. You're not having fun.
No.
You're running around, sweating bullets, trying to make sure everything's working out. The people
Everybody else is before you.
Everybody is before you. Yeah. Please don't ash in that just because it's concave. It's not. No, please put that koala bear down. Why do you have that? No, fuck it. Give me that knife. And just running around and trying to.
You got into the wine cellar. Could you please leave?
Yeah, please stop that. But just all of it and being able to, do it all over the next day and not be visibly sweating, so that the guests are having a good time. Sure. And that's what we end up, when you're true bar people, that's what you thrive on.
Yeah.
Is seeing everyone else's happy faces. Giving them a reason to spend their hard-earned money with you as opposed to the place down the street.
And you realize that's the essence of empathy.
Yeah.
Right? Because
right. Yeah.
Going back to it, people that don't have empathy, fine. It's because you do it for yourself. But if you're empathetic, you want to see other people happy because then you can feel the happiness.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's like giving Christmas gifts.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like getting gifts anymore, but I sure as fuck like giving them.
Yeah.
Does that make me a martyr? I don't know. Maybe a little bit, but that's way better now. But when you're younger, you don't really understand that. And
Sure.
maybe that's the inexperienced bartender bit. And I think that there's certainly a parallel between how the concept of celebrity is kind of immersed in pop culture, and that some bartenders want to just be in the news.
Yeah.
You know, they want to be popular and all of this, but without having some substance behind it.
That's true.
Can't blame them. Like, what example do they have?
You're right, and yeah, and it's an ugly side of it. I think that you see a lot of this stuff, and it's like 9 out of 10 times the bartenders getting all the attention are not necessarily the best ones.
Sure. Absolutely.
You'll see something with a practiced eye if you go in a bar. Sometimes you'll see something we call cupcaking, and that's when
what is it? Oh, yeah, tell me that.
That's when a fancy, pretty boy or a young starlet or whoever, attention hog,
sure,
that's working the bar, zeroes in on 4 or 5 people or maybe one person that they feel like in some way, maybe it's a food writer, maybe it's somebody in the scene.
It can enhance that.
But they'll post up in that well, and man, they will pour the gravy on. I mean, they give it the best. Like they're in there with anecdotes, and they're just making all these drinks and doing all this. But if you want to see the great bartender, look at the one behind them that's running their ass off to take care of the other guests.
Right.
But people don't see them as being good because they're they're in a rush to take care of everyone, while this one person's sitting there just cupcaking.
I believe with the cupcaking, that's good. I also recall the term brown nosing.
That's another way to put it. Sure. Yeah.
Depending which industry you're in. But cupcaking's nice. I mean, it's nice and cute, pink. You know? But it's an interesting creative dichotomy, and I don't know. I can see through this stuff too. I mean, like people will come in here and we'll chat, and some people can see right through. Yeah. But mostly everybody is just exactly who they are. But the people that are just trying to impress and just doing it for this sense of inflated ego and things, it's got to be short-lived. You can't sustain a lengthy career, or
it's got to be exhausting.
It's got to be exhausting, and you're like, I'm done with this bartender thing. I'm going to go into ad advertising. You know. Yeah. It's how it goes. So I first met you at Midnight Cowboy, years ago now, but I can't even remember. Maybe 2012, something like that.
Yeah, whenever it opened.
Yeah. Was that your first gig in Austin?
It was. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And I remember you had I think it was I remember these things because I always said, like, this dude is good. Right? Like he's a normal guy, and he doesn't make me feel like a dick for asking questions. Sure. He's like just about the conversation and education and stuff. But you had a Dole and Dry, I think, that you had, because I stole this idea from you. You had a Dole and Dry that you kept in the fridge that you had infused with herbs de Provence. Yeah,
I do remember that.
Yeah, I think was the first time I think we chatted.
Yeah, I think I've got to I think what that came from was a lavender or something that. And it's really surreal to me to party with guys like Cosmos, especially because he was actually a huge influence when I got into cocktails.
Really?
Well, I had a few old cocktail books like Playboy Host and Bar book.
Yes, he talked about
Cliff
that.
V. Arthur's New Orleans Drinks, How to Mix Them. But the Imbibe came out, which I think everyone will tell you was a game changer.
Sure.
But the Speakeasy book was broken down to where you're looking at things like, well, why the fuck is this calling for a jigger or a pony or a wine glass? Like, these guys kind of broke it down Barney style. And they said, this is what we're doing. And you start seeing, well, that makes sense. This lavender infused thing. So I think I drew some inspiration from that book for that. But I do.
That was it. You made me a martini with it, if I recall.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to remember any of this stuff.
No, sure. I do remember that. I remember when you and Charles used to come in.
Yeah, we would come in. But that was a point in which we were just getting the notion of starting a gin company. We've been messing around with it. And that was a really big turning point, actually, because there was some depth to that I had not experienced before. Now, I had gin with Dressel would serve it at East Side Showroom and stuff. And so there was definitely some people in place. But that particular moment, for some reason, really rings as being influential to me. And I'm not sure why. But, I thank you for that, man.
Yeah, that's a really special thing to hear. I mean, that's why we do it.
And I've fucked up ever since, so maybe that's on you. But that was a great moment, and that there was something about that crew then that was profound.
There was something magic in the air.
There was.
What do you think storm on the beach.
Yeah.
What I think it was guys that had talent together, but it wasn't ego driven. We were there for each other.
Yeah.
We all knew what each other had gone through to get to that point. And we were just, at the end of the day, trying to make the best drinks we could for people, and learning along the way, too.
It was
learning
beyond
together.
good, though. You know what I mean? Like, there was something really magical about that. And much to my chagrin, in a sense, ever since I've happened to go back after, it's just, and I love Michael, and I love they're great
guys.
Great crew, but there was something that is not reproducible about the crew at that point. And maybe it was me. And obviously, it's like you listen to, Nevermind, right?
Sure.
And the moment you hear it, it changes your life, at least for me. And then you go back and you listen to it, and it's still pretty fucking good. But it's not exactly the same. Like, the songs can't be the same now. You can't listen to Smells Like Teen Spirit 20 years later and still feel the same, or even 25 years later you can't feel the same way about it. But for me, at that point, who I was and running into you guys at that spot, there was something incredibly special about it.
That's really nice to hear, man.
It is. And I look back, that was a really fun moment. Thank you.
That was a special time in Austin, I think, for the bar, for us in the bar community. But there were people it was a very pure time, if I could say that. It was like
no frill.
No frill. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we were still figuring out what the fuck we were doing.
Yeah.
But I think we were pretty honest about it and really putting the work in and trying. But it was it was just fun, man.
Well, you could tell. It was just a different vibe to it. And so you eventually, you left, you moved on, as everybody does. They evolve.
Yeah.
You end up was it Contigo after
Contigo, yeah. So Houston was leaving, and we got to be friends. Yeah, we got to be friends pretty early on.
Another
Houston's,
great guy. Yeah.
Oh, he's a trip,
I
man.
love
He's
Houston.
good people. He's one of my favorite to hang with.
And he told me, just as the best quote that Houston's ever had, and I want to go out to San Antonio to talk to him, but he's got a face made for radio. That's what he told me. I'm like, you're handsome.
That's why we call him Handsome Houston.
Yeah, exactly. You lying son of a bitch.
That's his nickname, by the way.
Exactly.
Make sure you call him that.
He is.
Yeah.
Handsome son of a bitch, playing it off like he's some ugly motherfucker.
Yeah, well, that's part of his charm, ain't it?
Yes. The Midwestern Missouri, I believe, humility, right?
Yeah, he's a great dude, man. But he had mentioned the Contigo gig to me, and I went over there, interviewed with the guys. A lot of really qualified, great people.
Yeah.
Had interviewed for that job, and I guess we just meshed well at that very specific time and place.
Right.
And I was there for about 2 years, and then it just kind of came time to move on. Things were changing, and I was ready to move on. We, no bad blood, nothing like that, but ran into Bostic, ended up over there at Half Step, was doing a little bar consulting on the side. And
I mean,
ready to make
great concept. Working at fucking Half Step, that's gotta be great.
Yeah.
Josh is over there. Sheed's over there.
Oh, yeah. Having fun,
Florian.
Man. Yeah, Floyd was there at the time.
Oh, that's right. Floyd is over there, too.
Yeah. We had some good times. I'll pick up a shift there here and there when I can now. Don't really have time with Small Victory coming up, but which I'm sure we can get into, and I'm sure you talked to Josh about it.
Yeah, Josh and I talked about it a little bit.
Very
Actually,
exciting.
So when did you get involved with Josh? Did you kind of build rapport with him way back in the Cowboy days?
Yeah, that was kind of written in the stars. That was kind of like, with me and Adam Bryan as well. It's like we all, want to move on to opening a bar.
Right.
Not necessarily for the money, but it's because, we want to bring what we got to offer to the table.
For sure, yeah.
And it was kind of like an unwritten pact, like, well, you get open, obviously I'm coming on to be there with you.
Yeah, that's great.
And help you out. Whoever's first, then the others come on, and we figure it out from there. And I think it was kind of an unwritten thing, but Josh and I talked, and I think he and I mesh very well on our bar philosophies.
Yeah.
We're both very much in the way that we approach bar technique, bar philosophy, why we want to do things the way we do.
Yeah.
I think it just makes sense that we work together.
Yeah, it's so easy going.
Yeah.
I mean, at least to me.
No, he definitely is, and he's fucking hilarious. Working with that guy behind the bar is just, the things that come out of his mouth.
Yeah. Is he deadpan? That's what I gather.
Yeah. And it's very subtle, but you'll hear something. And like Dressel.
Yeah.
Dressel was one of the funniest guys I ever met in my life.
The gentle giant.
Oh,
That's what I call him.
But God, he should have been a stand-up comic. If you could only capture that essence, because his timing was
just incredible.
That guy just would keep you laughing, keep you happy, man. But
it's amazing.
Yeah, Josh is very easygoing. He approaches. He has a vast amount of knowledge, but he approaches it in a very easygoing,
digestible
kind
of way.
Digestible, doesn't present it as a.
He's not pretentious.
No, not at all.
Absence completely of pretentiousness. which I really, really enjoyed because a lot of times this gets stuffy.
Usually the pros are, you know. You'll notice that with wine people a lot.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, I remember...
Don't make me start about wine people, Steve.
Yeah. It's always the amateurs that are so pretentious about things. The real wine people don't mind drinking it out of a mason jar if it's the right time and place.
We're drinking... You know what? This is a perfect time. You and I... I love this because I've started to profile. God forbid. But I start to profile the people that come in. I'm like, I wonder what bottle they'll pick. You know? Yes, absolutely. And so I was like, well, what would Steven pick? You know, we always pick a bottle for these conversations. You know, Steven seems like a blue-collar, old Charter 10 guy. And lo and behold...
Got me dead to rights, bud.
You picked the old Charter 10, tried and true, beautiful 10-year, out of print, if you will, bourbon, Kentucky Straight. I think this is 45%, if I'm correct.
Yep.
And this is one of the greats, one of the favorites. This is the Bruce Springsteen of bourbon.
It's a standby.
And it fucking works always, man. So thanks for giving me another excuse to break into this liter of
anytime, man.
The 10-year-old Charter, man. And we have some Lefroy as well that we got to dip into. Which one is this one?
That's the quarter cask.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the representative of, you know, the story they'll tell you is basically carting the cask, you know, on horseback to try to keep it quiet around the countryside.
Right.
You know, very romantic kind of idea. But basically, they're just imparting a little bit more wood through smaller casks.
Oh, okay.
So
more surface area.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so Lefroy that's my go-to scotch.
You like the peatiness of it?
Yeah, I love that stuff. My mom taught me to drink scotch when I was like 18.
No shit.
Oh, yeah.
No ouzo?
What's that?
No ouzo?
We had plenty of ouzo and Metaxa. My
Metaxa.
grandfather drank Metaxa during the holidays. We made our eggnog with it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Amazing. But for Lefroy still just kind of
well, she got me drinking blended scotches, but she always said, look, fuck it. I want to teach you how to drink. Your friends are idiots.
Yeah.
When you go out with them, drink scotch like a gentleman. Drink it on the rocks.
Yeah.
Take your time. Now that shit would fly out the window by 2, 3 in the morning.
Sure. But it's starting out with good intentions.
But it was starting out with good intentions. And it kind of led me on a path of a refined taste of scotch.
Yeah.
And I learned very early on how to enjoy a spirit for what it is.
All right. One last memory that I have.
Sure.
When I lived near Jeffries down, in Clarksville. And Adam Bryan was working behind the bar.
Yeah.
And I was like, I recall Steven making me this drink called maybe not the Ender, but the
closer.
Thank you. The closer, which was Lemon Heart, I think, Lefroy 12.
What was that? I think that was one of Houston's things.
Was it really? But I had it first from you.
Yeah, that was probably at Contigo. I think that was one of Houston's things. But I feel like there was God, man.
There's some absinthe in there too.
It was more of like an after dinner drink. I know it was like bitter.
Yes.
I feel like maybe there was some brimstone in there.
There's something.
Can't remember.
But Adam would always cite you as the guy who did it. And he goes, well, Steven would do the closer, but I'm going to do the Ender. So the Ender was a little Lefroy 12.
Yeah.
Lemon Heart, 151. Some absinthe and that Brancamenta.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe some bitters, but I don't think so. I think that was it. And true to its name, that was certainly the Ender. And so Lefroy always made its way into the arsenal.
Yeah, man. Drink. Bring the robust bullies in, put them together, and see what happens.
That's
in that
what
glass.
It's like Black Flag in a drink.
Yeah. The Cro-Mags. fucking party time.
Fucking Cro-Mags for sure. Definitely the Cro-Mags.
Yeah. Speaking of Adam, that's a funny one. When I first moved here, Adam and I hit it off very early and became best friends. I'd say he's probably one of my closest friends in Austin.
Is he up in Portland now?
No, he's here. He's actually
okay.
Yeah, I think he's down in Mexico right now, but he comes by a lot. We hang out all the time. He's my people, man. We we look out for each other. We're buddies.
Great mind on that.
Yeah, I guess people were just like, really? I remember him as being the guy that was like this at showroom and all that. Like, how do y'all get along? You're like this redneck dude from Alabama, and he's this guy with this mustache. Like, nah, man, he's actually one of the sweetest people you ever met when you get to know him.
Really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
And I hope that at some point, we'll leave it at this, that he does get to have his concept actualized.
Oh, it'll happen.
I hope so.
Can't keep a good man down.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Small Victory a little bit more, because Josh it's not that he was tight-lipped about it.
Pensive.
He's pensive about it.
Sure.
Yeah. And he said it's about 40 seats. He'd like to get about 40 people in there. Maybe that's different. And a focus on cocktails, but also wine.
Yeah.
So how do you see the cocktail program being? What kind of specialties, God forbid I use the word, but What kind of specialties do you think you guys would represent you, the bar program there?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Classics.
Classics.
I think it was I think it was Bruce Lee said, I don't fear the man that's practiced 10,000 kicks once, but the man that's practiced one kick 10,000 times. so the idea being,
I'm afraid of that right now.
Yeah. So the idea being, let's figure out how these classics work the best. Let's try to figure out how to make a Manhattan the very best that we can.
Right.
Using the best ice, the best dilution, the best temperature to serve it.
Does great point. So does tweaking the spirit also make a difference for you guys? So picking that one that you feel is the best, like the different kinds of vermouth and all of that.
Sure.
That kind of precision is important.
Well, you look at it like this, when you do cocktails, so many people are so quick to do their signature cocktails, and that's fine. There's bars in town that do it, and they execute it magnificently. For sure. But I feel like the classics, and there's a myriad of great classics that never even get noticed.
Right.
Because people, they learn the basics. Oh, Manhattan, I'll make a riff, and then I'll riff off that, and then I'll riff off this. And
that's it's like sampling.
It's your
like
mother's
Kanye.
Sauces.
Yeah, dude, it's like you're totally right. It's a copy of a copy of a copy at that point, and then it kind of loses the original.
Yeah, it starts to get muddy, and it's like, why are you doing that, man?
Yeah.
Like, why would fucking watch?
It was better two samples ago.
Yeah. Like, let that be. Why'd you do that to my whiskey? But the focus definitely being on proper technique, classics, and Josh has been very astute to looking for the very original recipes because, cocktails can get really whiz bang, especially with Google. People Google up a recipe, and it's like, well, why are you doing it like that? Like, let's find the first instance that we can. And Wondrich did a lot of that, but Josh went a little bit further, and he really delved into the manuals and what he could find, most obscure references, and said, okay, let's start at base one, and let's build off of that and dial these things in to where you'll see when the place gets open, the Hurricane is hands down the best I've ever had, and it's good. Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait.
It ain't no Pat O'Brien's dry powdered mix thrown on.
It's a wonderful,
ice.
Crisp and natural tasting.
Yeah, but Josh is that kind of guy that he looks at like the aspects, and he's just the best. He's some of the best in the business. And why are we doing that? So asking that question and then nailing the basics down. So classic cocktail driven with wine. The wine list isn't going to be crazy, but I think that showcases your talent when you can make a small but
specific. Yeah.
So that, maybe some aromatized. We'll have some good, fortifieds and things like that.
What's the aesthetic like in there?
It's chill. It's let's say this without it sounding negative, but if Midnight Cowboy was made without the carts and the separation of guests, perhaps more convivial with more interaction to the bartenders in their element,
right.
Kind of that feel. Yeah. So very dark, small, seemingly tight, but in a cozy way, I think.
Right.
Comfortable. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's a great place to come and have a drink.
I'm
Just
really
a quiet,
excited.
contemplative cocktail.
I missed that today, so I posted the interview with Josh today, and he quite enjoyed it, which is great. Love to hear that. And he's like, actually, we're not opening.
Yeah.
He texted me.
Well, I think
I'm sure the staff was like, what the fuck, Groner? What are you doing?
It's I think Josh is pensive because of experience. Once that gets out to the PR and
he knows.
Yeah.
He's smart. He's shrewd like that.
Yeah. It's great to have that behind you, but you don't want to open those doors till we're ready. And we got a lot of kinks ironing out. I'm sure you'll be in there this weekend.
Yeah. As long as you guys are still on for Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. So we want to get all the people that we know will tell us when something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because inevitably we're going to be doing something wrong. But by all means, come in and tell us and critique what's going on. Let us dial it in so that we can do our job.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited.
Me too. I think it's going to be a great spot.
It's just great to see brilliant minds working behind something. I guess the Manhattan Project had that, so maybe there's some detriment.
Sure.
So I heard one other thing. We'll kind of end on this, but I love Drink Well, and obviously I've known Ani for some time now. I've known you. I had no idea you guys were married till sometime after.
Really?
Which is always interesting. Like, oh, that's really cool dynamic.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. No, it makes sense. But are you guys gonna try to do it? You gonna try to open a spot?
Yeah, down the road, definitely. Right now, we thought we were going to do it much earlier, but we've kind of realized that where we are right now is a pretty good place. Yeah. I'm going to be working with Josh and doing some side projects. with people I really like and care about.
Yeah.
Mike and Jessica have become really close to us as well.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, they did great things for the scene here in town.
Oh, they're great.
They're always
just
active.
different. They're not.
And Jessica just goes and goes.
I know, dude.
And Anya has found a good place with them.
Sure. Part of the family.
Yeah, I mean, it's that organic family in the business. So right now, I think what our focus is to get these babies off the ground.
Yeah.
And then when that time presents itself, we're ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're definitely aiming for it. We've got our concept and ideas down, and we're excited to bring it out when the time's right.
It's brilliant, man. I know it's gonna happen. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Maybe grayer. I think that's inevitability that I'll be grayer by the time that
Yeah.
anything happens
Yeah,
past
sure,
the day.
Sure. In its own time.
In its own time. Well, man, it's this is like so there are a few people that were there when I started to really my interest peaked in this industry, distillation, all this kind of stuff, and I think that you were right there, man, and I consider you one of the older influences for sure.
Well, thanks, man.
Even though you're younger than me, son of a bitch. But
am I?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I had no idea.
So, yeah.
Oh, I'm right behind you. I'm January. So.
Yeah, but still, I'm February, so I'm still like just always edging ahead,
Yeah.
But you've done really great things. But here's the thing that is what I consider your best talent, and this is outside of your creative capacity or your ability to make drinks. You're just a guy, and you're accessible, and you're never pompous, and you're never out of touch. You're just a guy, a man of the people, and that is really important in this industry, man. And you've never made me feel out of place. You never made me feel like I was asking stupid questions. And that is the kind of gentle and accepting approach we need everybody to have in this industry.
Oh, thanks, man.
Sure.
I'm gonna blush over here, but I'm glad to hear it.
Well, Steven, thanks so much for chatting with me, and we'll raise one more Old Charter 10 here. Thanks, mate. Hope to talk soon.
Cheers, man. Slanji.
Well, I do agree with Steven. The millennial bun, the millennial haircut, the man bun. It is a sign of end of times, everybody. I swear I'm not a preacher. I swear I'm not a fanatic. But there's something about man buns that just bothers the shit out of me. But besides that, what do you guys think of that conversation with Steven? A prototypical gentleman from the South. He's an amazing father, has great cocktail knowledge. You ever get Steven to make you a drink, it's going to taste beautiful, and it's going to lay you flat? I learned the term a cocktail has legs from Steven. I mean, how classy is that shit? So it was really a privilege, having known Steven for a couple of years, to have some time to sit down and chat with him. And honestly, I feel like I know him 100 times better than I ever did, and I hope you guys feel the same way. As we move forward to February 1st of 2016, there will be an amazing event supporting and profiting and giving money to the wonderful Austin Children's Shelter. And that is in the form of a Dad Bod calendar. You have Justin Elliott, Bob King, Billy Hankey, Michael Sanders, Chris Bostic. Who else do you need? Michael Phillips? Fine, you got Michael Phillips. Plenty of amazing personalities, scantily clad. How's that? Does that entice you a little bit to buy a calendar? Well, you should. There's an amazing release party for the calendar that will include cocktails, beers at the Hops and Green Brewery this Monday, February 1st. So I won't say too much more about it. Research it if you want to go. Might be a private event. I don't know. But you should go. You should buy a calendar. There's something in the Jeff Boley picture for everybody that is so enhanced. Women, I've seen it. Women have fainted upon the sight of this particular picture. So thanks, everybody, for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter how much I rant, how much you listen, how much you don't listen, how much I don't rant. Remember Alabama. It's in the South. Seems like a good spot I'd like to visit, but please keep dancing.